Oh, yeah. Welcome in. It's Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji, Travis Thomas, in the PNC Bank studio.
Hey.
Vibes are good. I shouldn't even ask how you're doing today.
Vibes are great. In fact, here how good the vibes are.
Let me hear it.
My water bottle's in the middle of taking up all the... You are professional, but now I want to put you on Front Street because you can't see his tea off camera. Bring that in here. My man, George, scoured the globe. Is it green tea? What is it? Is it green?
That's my second half of the day pickup.
For green tea. I respect that about you.
You go to one break room, you just want your green tea. Like you pour, and the worst is you pour the hot water, and then you're like, wait, there's no green tea bags? So I'm like, do I walk with the hot water downstairs? Do I toss it, which isn't bad? Do I pour? And then I got to walk from downstairs up the stairs with hot water and green tea in my hand.
Hey, shout outs to all my Jersey peeps who say water the same way as George.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Water.
Oh, now you're cleaning it up.
Hot water.
First you gave me water. There it is. Jersey.
I'm not going to cuss on this podcast.
Bro, I told you. I went to college with all y'all. I have so many Jersey friends from college.
I just remember the origin story of Trav and I.
Yes.
As you can imagine, Trav's the nicest guy in the world. Walks up to my desk. Man, what's up? I just got here. Been watching it. You're good. Like, good to meet you. I'm like, all right, that's a good dude. Like, and when he gets settled down, a few days later, he's talking. I'm like, so where'd you go to college? He goes, Towson. I actually look at him. I go, my boy went to Towson.
See?
I've been to Towson.
Yeah.
I partied at Towson.
Yeah.
Towson is great people. And then he's like, where are you from? I go, Jersey. He goes, and it made sense.
Every time. Listen, the Baltimore-Jersey connection is
real.
there. In fact, I think
it's real.
For the rest of this podcast, I think you just tell the people how great I am. We have nothing but time. Go on.
They'll figure out how great you are just by listening. By the way, if you want to call in 617-790-0928, email us thechat@nesson.com as well. We got a great voicemail we'll play for you guys later on this episode.
All-timer.
Love the call in. I loved it. I loved it, and we'll get to it when you hear it.
All-timer.
First, we got to get to what's been the most polarizing, tumultuous 48 hours in the Bruins offseason so far. So if you guys are just catching up, backtrack to Monday.
Yep.
When Cam Neely at a press conference said that Jeremy Swayman has 64 million reasons why he should be playing hockey right now. Because Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins are in the midst of a holdout. Then, later that night, Jeremy Swayman's agent, Louis Gross, put out the following statement on Instagram, saying, quote, writing, quote, normally, I do not release statements or discuss negotiations through the media. However, in this case, I feel I need to defend my client. At today's press conference, going back to Monday, $64 million was referenced. This was the first time that number was discussed in our negotiations. Prior to the press conference, no offer was made reaching that level. We are extremely disappointed. This was not fair to Jeremy. We will take a few days to discuss where we go from here. I love like the pearl clutching. 64 million.
Well, I've never...
No offer was made reaching that level. I could understand if that discussion was not had, you going, hold on, you're going to say, well, he's 64 million reasons when it wasn't given to me. But this is coming from the agent when 64 million was coming from Cam Neely. Then Frank Saravalli reported, who's a great hockey reporter, Bruins' actual offer was 8 years, $7.8 million per year.
Yep.
Swayman's camp, Louis Gross, wants $8.5 million a year. And he added, the Bruins were somewhere closer to 6.5 a year.
Yep.
They got up to 7.8, and they probably went, we've moved. Here's a 7.8 offer.
Yes.
What's your move? And they never heard back. Allegedly, reportedly. So we get that. We also saw reports it was like millions off. 7.8 to 8.
Close enough.
Right?
Close enough.
And look, people are going to say they're going to bank on Louis Gross in the statement. I don't 100% believe him. And I was critical of him when I brought up what his roster was. It's basically William Nylander, a couple okay guys, and a bunch of third and fourth liners. Jeremy Swayman's his next big payday. What Louis Gross is doing with this whole situation as well, this is huge for him because he's projecting to other potential clients.
Yeah.
And guys that can get paid around the NHL.
Yep.
My client, I will protect you.
Yep.
I'll put out statements on social media. I'll do these negotiations for you. You don't worry about it, and I'm going to get you paid. Because if the full story comes out and he goes, look, they wanted 6.5. I got Jeremy all the way up to 8.
Sure.
Over 8 years. Come on. That's a $12 million difference over the lifetime of a contract.
Yep.
And they can get into all that. I don't 100% believe Louis Gross. But like oh my God, 64.
I've never heard that number.
This was the first time. We will take a few days to discuss where we go from here.
Yeah.
Playing hardball. Sign it.
Yeah, because that's close.
Is so much more than what Jeremy Swayman deserves with the body of work he's given so far. And
Sure.
We'll get into that. But what do you think of the Louis Gross statement, the Saravalli reports, and just back and forth?
I agree with you. Look, if it's 7.8, that's close enough to 8. And by the way, we all do this. Maybe Neely's, if anything, is guilty of rounding up in a press conference-like setting. If it's 7.8, but really he says, hey, it's 64 and it's 62 and a half or whatever.
Yeah, 62.4 million.
Yeah, like
reasons.
he rounded up. Like we all do that. Like I don't know, man. I was there for at least probably like 4 hours. And it's like, really, you were there 3 hours and 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That happens all the time. But the math ain't mathing if you're saying the Bruins offered 6 and I got my client up to 8. I don't know if I'm buying the agent here. And look, we, both of us, George, I think have been fair on both sides here. We have both illustrated how we thought maybe the Bruins moved too hastily to move off of Ullmark and to commit to Swayman without pen to paper.
Yeah.
Okay? So we've both acknowledged we see that side of it, but we've also have acknowledged, boy, Sway, even though I'm on the side of pay him the money, let's get this deal done and get him in net, we both have acknowledged, boy, you are bold for someone who has not proven that you can be the man. Now, granted, you haven't got the full opportunity until now, but to ask for the man money without proving you can be it is a bold move, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out. But honestly, I'm at the point where if it is this close, you got to get this deal done, and I am sticking to my prediction. Remember, I feel like I'm the only person saying this right now. I think this gets done before the first game. I really do. I know you don't. Man. I think this gets done before the first game, and I believe the players, who I know we'll hear from, the captain, but I believe these players believe this will get done too.
Korpisalo's already named the game 1 starter.
I understand that.
I think that says a lot to how far apart
where
they are
we
this
are.
way.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a few days. Like, they're going to try. What's a few days? 2, 3? All right, they get it done on
It'll
Friday.
be next week.
Season opener is Tuesday.
Yeah.
If Swayman's in the building, he is starting. There's a ramp-up period. You don't want to rush him back.
That's right.
But you mentioned it, and I want to dive into it one more time. Because the guys that he is in the range of getting paid, based off annual salary.
Yes.
This would be the 5th highest annual salary of active goaltenders. Because Carey Price right now, we don't know what's happening with him.
Sure.
Sergei Bobrovsky signed a 7x10 in 2019.
Stanley Cup champ.
He won 2 Vezinas before he got that Stanley Cup. And he made 61 or more starts each of the 3 prior seasons. Andrei Vasilevsky, Vezina in 2019, contract in 2020. 52 or more starts with a 64-start season mixed in there.
Another champion.
8x9.5. Connor Hellebuck, 2 Vezinas. 60-plus starts, 3 seasons leading up to that 2024 contract, 7x8.5. Ilya Sorokin, who's not that good, 2024 contract, 8x8.2.5. 52-plus starts each of those 3 seasons, 60 and 55 the last 2.
Yep.
Jeremy Swayman, if he gets an 8x8, 43 starts were his max in the last 3 years.
Yep.
Splitting starts with the 2023 Vezina winner, 1 playoff series under his name where he was absolutely spectacular.
Stellar.
Including that Panthers series.
Yep.
Then he would be ahead of a guy like Drew Soros, 63-plus starts, last 3 seasons, making 7.7 a year. John Gibson, who sounds like a made-up player, $6.4 million a year for 8 years, 49, 60, 57. The 3 starts prior to his 2019 extension. You're getting paid ahead of guys like Soros and Gibson, who have proven them to be a goalie number 1.
Yep.
Once you got to 7.8, you're ahead of both of those guys. Get to 8, good for you.
8.
That's awesome.
That's the win.
And Charlie Jacobs said it himself. They will spend to the cap, but they need wiggle room because they have $8.8 million in cap space. If there's an injury that happens, if they need to make an addition at the deadline, I understand if guys go on the IR, they need money to work with at that because they are going all in.
Yeah.
They got Lindholm. They got Zadorov. They have Pasta, Marchand, Hampus Lindholm, Elias Lindholm, of course, as well. The young guys coming up, get your goalie paid and move forward. The Bruins have pressed every button right. We can be critical of how early they traded Linus Ullmark, but they didn't think it would get to this point. I listed out those contracts because 8x8 is a perfect number for Jeremy Swayman,
it's fair.
Who has never been a number 1 goalie.
Yep.
And again, Guys making all those guys have made 50 or more starts each of those 3 seasons leading up. Swayman's never gotten that. They've done that and then been that dude in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's a lot to ask of Swayman, and they are projecting he can do that with an 8x8.
Yeah, listen, we agree on that. And one thing now I'm starting to come around to and see things your way on is if Swayman and this agent in these next few days, as we take time to talk this out, I wonder if now the strategy changes because of we are quite literally up against the clock. I wonder if it changes now to a short-term deal. I really do. You still get your cash, but we go 2-year prove it and reset the market and then go and try and get a bag from whoever. Because I think now, if we're talking that 8 for 8, I just don't know if it's even – I don't know if it's feasible anymore. I mean, Swayman's camp, it feels like it's not to them. It feels like it's not. Mm-hmm. And so – if that's the case, and we are, because you and I are standing in this, they're close. What if they're not? If they are miles apart, then right now, if I'm Swayman and the agent and his team, I'm saying, listen, let's attack this from a different angle. Let's get the cash on a shorter-term deal, which is what you've been saying all along. The market resets starting next year when Igor's up, and then we'll see what we can get in 2 years. Yep. I don't hate that. When you first brought that up to me, I said there's no way. They've clearly drawn their line in the sand. They're not going to budge. The Bruins have a number that they want to stick to. It's just not going to happen. We're going to have a standoff, which we have. But I'm starting to see it your way. Now, if it goes that direction, though, it's Swayman that has to.
Bingo.
He has to be the one that has the wiggle room. Still get your cash, but it's going to be on the shorter term.
They want the long term. They want the guaranteed money.
That's what they want.
And look, if Bruins want the long term more than Swayman, I'd say though.
Yeah, because
they get him in an 8x8.
That's
they
right.
get ahead of the market and they lock him up. If Swayman decides to go short term, you go 2x8. Okay, cool. And you win a cup.
That's right.
And then go get paid by someone else.
Because the window's now.
I do not care.
Yeah.
Go get paid by someone else.
That's right.
Exactly. The window's now.
The window's now.
Elias Lindholm's in the building. You got better down the middle. Matty Patra, Mason Lohrei.
Everything's there.
Yeah, David Pastrnak and Pavel Zacha. Brad Marchand, who knows how many great years he has left in him, coming off 3 surgeries.
Yep.
We know what the blue line has. Korpisalo, you'll get him to be better. You'll get him to be a Linus Ullmark, just like goalie Bob has done in the past.
Yep.
It's all about timing. So it's either get a 2.8, a 2x8 done, shoot, a 2x7. I don't care. If it's short term with Swayman that ends with a cup worth every single penny.
Yes.
That or you do the 8x8. I think the 8x8 is more than generous what the Bruins are doing.
Right.
More than generous.
I think it's fair. I just don't believe, listen, this agent, and by the way, I want to go back on something you said, because you're right. This agent is projecting. He's trying to show his clients, I'll go to bat for you. I'll fight for you. I'll get you every penny. There's a flip side to that coin, too. He's got to be careful because he already, in a way, kind of has a reputation of playing too damn hard ball, okay? And he doesn't exactly have an A-list of clients either.
Yeah, so, outside of William Nylander.
That's it. So, listen, it's a delicate balance here that Sway and his team are kind of walking on. Because if this agent is convincing him, this is what we're doing, this is how we got to do it, we have to play hardball, and we get to December, and this isn't done, and he's out, I am telling you, this agent will never get another high-profile client again, including Jeremy Swayman. He's walking right out on him.
That's the thing. And I'm not doing this to be like some shield, but it's just how much do you believe from agents, you know?
Sure.
That's my thing of like, the agent could be lying here, and I am taking that into account.
Yeah.
Just the reaction. It just gets me every time. We're going to take a couple days. 64. Oh, my God.
Well, let's look at that. Because you and I played the Cam Neely clip, and we saw the frustration, and we talked about it.
Yes.
I mean, so, okay, we hear that, we feel that, and then this agent with the clutching of the pearls, 64. Like, bro, you're doing too much. So it's already telling me on the outside looking in, watching you, that it's your side of the things that's not budging. I guarantee you, in just the way contracts work in general, and we've talked about this too because we're in that world, the Bruins have a number. Hey, man, this is what we see for you, whatever it is. If it's a 64, it's 8x8, fine. But, like, this is your value. This is what we see, and it's far more money than you've ever made anywhere close in your career. Take it or leave it here. We're being more than fair. This is market value. And if Swayman and his side have a much bigger number, then maybe you just can't meet in the middle. But I think this agent's playing a very dangerous game. Jeremy Swayman's young enough. It's going to work out for him, big picture, long term, in the long run. I told you, I think he is good enough to be the man. I am excited for the Jeremy Swayman era where it's just him to start here in Boston. I believe he's going to be good enough, and I believe he's going to win a cup. But if they can't get this done, it's not going to be here. It's just not, George.
Yep. And he said it time and time again. He loves it in Boston.
Yeah.
He's confident to get the long-term
Fans
contract.
love him.
Says he trusts his agent. How much can he trust his agent? Again, Louis Gross is using this opportunity to project to other guys.
That's right.
If Cam Neely's going to speak publicly, well, I'm going to go with a public statement.
Yep.
We're going to play a little bit of, we're going to take a few days.
Yep.
Tomorrow, he should pick up the phone and be, all right, $64 million. We good? We good?
We good.
Is there a no trade? Is there a no move? What are the bonuses?
I'd sign it.
That's what it should be.
I'd sign it.
64? All right, let's do it.
I'd sign it.
Take 64 now.
He didn't need to make the public statement. He could have just did that.
But once Cam Neely goes public, we never hear that. And I love that from a press conference.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
that's where you go, where you hear the frustration.
Yeah.
For him to straight up go, Don Sweeney says max term, which is 8 years. That's a max they can offer. And when Cam Neely goes 64 million reasons, and the tone that Cam Neely, he doesn't say that unless he's very frustrated how the phone calls have gone. And again, people are going to point to William Nylander. Louis Gross's main roster, he has like 4 guys with the Blues, 3 guys with the Capitals. He's working with bottom tier franchises.
Yeah, facts.
These are the Bruins. It's an original 6. And this is a shift for the Bruins as well, though. We have to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, Zdeno Chara, of course, Brad Marchand, they've taken pay cuts. They've said to play for the Bruins, what's best for the team. Pasta got his max. You could even argue McAvoy took a pay cut at some point with his, right?
Right.
McAvoy did bridge deals. Brandon Carlo
he kind of did the short terms. Yep.
They're not even getting that with Swayman, but that is the change now. Modern day, different culture.
Sure.
Only Marchand's left out of those guys that have established the culture in that locker room. We actually have sound from Brad Marchand. It was great. He spoke to the media about his contacts with Jeremy Swayman and how he views this whole holdout. We'll play it right here.
You know, I think the biggest thing, I wouldn't say it's hard to keep it out of the room. You know, even today and after, there's not a whole lot of talk about it. You know, we all understand the situation that the team and Sway are in, and you know, this is part of the game. It's part of the business. It's a part that nobody enjoys. You know, and eventually a deal's going to get done, and everyone's going to move on and be fine. You know, one of the biggest things is stress and pressure of when these negotiations are going on. But you know, when you're dealing with a term deal, you know, once it's signed, there's so much weight that gets lifted off, not just the player's shoulder, but the team. And you know, then it's just all about coming together and finding a way to win and building towards that goal. So, you know, it's tough because, you know, we all care about Sway. You know, we want to see him back, and but again, it's part of the business that sometimes guys go through, and every player goes through it at some point. You know, to the extent of which it drags on is always different, but everybody goes through negotiations, and you know, they're never fun. And you know, it'll be over, and everyone will move on.
That is a confident captain. Because if stuff was going sideways, Brad Marchand's wise enough. He's been around enough. He would have been no comment on it. Let them take care of that. For him to say everyone's going to move on and be fine, he's been in contact with Jeremy Swayman. That's a confident captain talking from that Bruins dressing room.
Almost sounds like the deal's going to get done any minute now, because that's how I feel. I'm telling you. Look, and one thing he said is so true. You don't want this hanging over. No player wants it hanging over him, but you don't want it hanging over the team. That's where my ears perked up, because the last thing this team needs to start this season where they are a legitimate cup contender is to be talking about this damn contract every day, because all these guys are going to be asked about it. All these guys are going to be asked about Swayman's money. So I'm with Marchie. You got to get this done. It just has to get done. I believe it will. I still think this time, well, not this time next. I think it gets done in the coming days. Let me say that. That's my official prediction. It gets done in the coming days.
And the other reports from Frank Saravalli, after initially offering contracts of various lengths, the Bruins were satisfied with Swayman's response and focus on 8 years. There's been a lot of back and forth in this. And it makes sense. Bruins will start at 6.5. Louis Gross will start at 8.5. They're going to meet at 8. That is a win for Louis Gross.
Of course
That's
it is.
That's a win for Jeremy Swayman.
Yes.
He came up $1.5 million a year. And who knows what the terms were on that 6.5. Same thing.
Right.
So it's a lot of back and forth, but that confidence you get from Brad Marchand. Mm-hmm. And he's spot on, too. And you're right as well. It weighs on the team. It weighs on the dressing room.
You don't need it.
Jeremy Swayman's commented of like, this is a championship winning team we have. I see it. I want to be a part of it. It's something special. I love Boston. You love Boston. After the $64 million is heard, after Louis Gross puts out this statement, you call your agent and you go, let's get this done. Mm-hmm. Get him to 64. I don't care. That's the way I heard it. Mm-hmm. You sat through arbitration and the Bruins said, we won't take you through that again. Mm-hmm. I understand you heard things you don't want to. This is why you hire an agent. But then you also have to question, what was your agent doing behind closed doors that the first time you heard $64 million, it was open to the public as well? There's a lot to this. I'm skeptic of certain agents, and that's why I bring this up.
In a way, it's a cautionary tale because he's such a young player with such a bright future ahead of him, many years ahead of him. He may be, Jeremy Swayman, we have to have this conversation. He probably hasn't played his best hockey yet. I mean, like, this guy's entering what will be his prime. Mm-hmm. So it's a cautionary tale in a certain extent of some of these guys are just better off being represented by these big agencies, these big name agents, these big name agencies, especially early in your career.
Yeah.
Because I almost think, and again, I'll give credit to you because you went here, even though I would have already wrote the check for him this offseason, to be clear. But, as you said, look, he hasn't had the opportunity to prove he can be the man, but he just hasn't done it yet. Forget why. He hasn't done it yet. And so if you're Swayman, like, you should, in theory, have a bunch of big contracts in front of you in your career. You can't be so short-sighted that you don't even get in the door of them because you got, I don't want to use the word greedy, but you tried to get too much up front for the very first one. So I almost wish, in a way, that he had an agent a little more, not as combative, and just got this deal done short term. This goes back to your way of thinking. And then you play hardball in a couple years when you've proven you can do it.
Prove it over 2 playoff runs.
Prove it over 2
win a Vezina.
Runs. Yep.
Put together 3 years, a 3x8.
Yep.
And then out of that, you could get a 7 by whatever.
You can get whatever.
A 7 by 10.
Because it'll be a new market by then.
Yeah.
Right?
7 by 10. That'd be $94 million if you did that. A 3x8 and then
Lord.
A 7 by 10. Imagine that. Could be a 7 by 11 after Igor gets paid.
He's young enough.
And he was better in the playoffs this past postseason than Igor Shesterkin.
That's
than
right.
both goalies that were in the Stanley Cup final. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
But one of those guys, Sergei Bobrovsky, has been through the ringer, won 2 Vezinas, has been their starter. And credit to the Florida Panthers, they knew how to play with basically 6 goalies on the ice and play winning hockey. Bruins don't have to play that style. But when they have that guy in the crease with everyone in front of them, they can make a lot happen.
Puck don't lie, dog.
It does not. All right, let's get into our power rankings.
All right.
And this will be a big one. So, I mean, we got to say, breaking news. You want to give me the horn? Breaking news. Boston has entered the chat. As of the recording, Davante Adams has informed the Raiders he prefers to be traded per Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. This happened 10 minutes ago as of the recording of this podcast. Important context on Davante Adams' Raiders situation. Nothing imminent, but this certainly lays a groundwork for an eventual split. I think do you keep playing games? I mean, we could even look at, I don't think Davante Adams to the Chiefs happen because that's intra-division.
No.
Intra-division. Raiders are going to be asking for a first rounder if they're sending them into their division.
Right.
Chiefs with their cap space is tight. I understand the Patrick Mahomes cap manipulation. No. I just don't see that happen.
I don't see that. Bro,
Bills cap spaces. I'm trying to think of teams.
I'll take it a step further. If you're the Raiders, I know they're in a rebuild or whatever.
They need a quarterback.
I think I'm moving him to the NFC. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want the problems.
I would take the best pick because if I get 2 firsts, I can move up to top 3 if I don't finish there. I think they do. If you give me 2 firsts, that's a lot of ammunition to have a quick reload. Look at the Texans, Will Anderson Jr. and C.J. Stroud, back-to-back picks, 2 and 3. Or look other avenues, right? The Minnesota Vikings, they haven't had a return on those guys yet, but those 2 picks in the top 15.
I got a spot for you, Rando.
Wait, sorry, real quick. Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, Roman Dunze.
God, another freaking. You're saying. I thought you were saying to trade him to Chicago.
No. I'm giving teams these scenarios.
I see.
Where I even think the Bears should have went offensive tackle with their 9th pick instead of Rome. But hey, I'm just saying.
Could have went DN
I'm just saying of what you could get on unload because Caleb and Rome are instant impact.
Sure.
So CJ Stroud and Will Anderson Jr.
No, that's true. I don't know their cap situation, but I still remember.
I'll help you out with this. Go.
I remember the Russell Wilson haul. I feel like Seattle still is eating off of draft assets from the Russell Wilson trade. I wonder. I know they have DK Metcalf
and Tyler
Jackson
Lockett
Smith.
And
yeah,
Jason.
but Tyler Lockett's 100 years old.
I think
Smith and Jigba's there.
Let me hear you. Keep going.
Smith and Jigba doesn't really feel like a game changer. He feels kind of like a Tyler Lockett to me. So if you could, Lockett's getting up there in age. I mean, look, I don't know. Again, I don't know their cap situation. Geno's not paid, so I don't think they have anyone eating up money. And I'm pretty sure they still have some draft assets. I think I'd try to make a move for Davante Adams. By the way, if I'm the Seahawks, you look at the NFC West right now, who's the top? Seahawks. San Francisco's beat to hell with their injuries. The Cardinals are still trying to figure it out. The Rams are the Rams. You got to respect them, and you think late season they'll make a charge. So maybe that's more reason if you're the Seahawks to take a shot and try and go get a Davante Adams. I like Seattle. DK, him, and Smith and Jigba, you're cooking with grease.
Davante Adams from Palo Alto. Part of why he went back to Las Vegas was to be closer to home. Go a little south of Seattle.
Okay.
49ers, $56 million in cap space.
The Bay.
Brandon Ayuk hasn't been on page.
No, he hasn't.
I know you just paid him.
Oh, swap?
No, but this is straight fantasy playing. That is a win now roster before you pay Brock Purdy. Davante Adams is 32 years old. There's an out after this year on his contract where you could save all the cap space. You trade for him as a rental. Ricky Pearsall, who knows how he returns from literally being shot in the chest. Deebo Samuel's been banged up. Juwan Jennings has stepped up. You're collecting infinity stones at that point because I'm looking at cap space in San Fran.
Is Davante Adams and that attitude, is he a hardball guy? Could you see either hardball? Whether it's now, we said in division,
Chargers $8.6 million in cap space.
You don't see a Chiefs move. Would they send him to the Chargers?
No, I don't think so either. You can't sell that. He wouldn't be there long. That's my one thing.
They need a
Davante Adams is 32. Next year they'd have the cap space. Chargers need a wideout. They got their offensive lineman.
What's Baltimore's situation? Does he go play with Lamar? I don't hate that.
Only 4.4 in cap. How do you make these numbers work?
You can't.
Right? And it's what you're giving up. Baltimore would be a good one. That's a win now, buy now move.
But they don't have the money.
$14 million in cap space next season.
Boy, if only New England could just.
They're up there. I mean, I'm looking at them.
He's not coming here.
But he's not a multi-year solution, in my opinion.
He's also not coming here. He would say, "I'm not playing there."
That's
offensive
what I want.
Line, quarterback,
and there has to be details in this, right?
Yes.
What are the details? What does your contract look like? What can we get done?
Well, at this stage of his career, he's going to tell you winning is first, right? He wants to go somewhere he has a chance to win.
Why not Commanders? $26 million in cap space. Yes, you have Terry McLaurin. Luke McCaffrey's your 2. Jaden Daniels has been phenomenal through 4 games, but you need an elite weapon on the outside. To me, it has to go to a win now team. He has to go to a win now team.
You could probably win in Washington right now.
No, that defense isn't good enough. But they're always playing ahead where he's protecting that defense.
And remember, it's the NFC, George. We're not talking AFC here.
Let me talk
NFC's
AFC.
a different animal. It's a little more open.
Let me talk AFC. Why are we not spoken about the Jets yet? They have the cap space.
Him and Garrett.
And Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Here's one thing I think you're overlooking. We already. What are we, a month in this season, if that? And Rodgers and Salah are already, something's brewing, now you're going to bring Davante Adams, who doesn't get along with people either?
Yes.
Well, him and Aaron are tight, right?
If he went to Las Vegas for Derek Carr, his BFF from his Fresno days,
right,
he better go to a quarterback that won 2 MVPs throwing touchdowns to him. He better do that.
I don't hate
the Jets
New York.
make sense with the cap space.
Yeah.
We'll see what the capital is. You have to give up.
Yeah, you're going to have to give up.
That team is win now. We've spoken with Connor Rogers of SNY. The second 8 steps in the building, it is Super Bowl. Anything short is a failure. Whatever draft picks you give up, because who knows how many years Aaron Rodgers has left.
Sure.
And if you're Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, you need to do it now to save your careers and save your jobs. You go out and you trade for Davante Adams. You're only 2-2. Yes, you lost because of the rain. That is horrendous. Bo Nix beat you, throwing for -7 yards in the first half. All of this is terrible. When 8 is happy and you get Davante Adams in the building opposite of Garrett Wilson, that is with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen in the backfield. Come on.
Here's another place. It seems like every player always has this place on their list of teams they're willing to go to. I want you to think about the way he's playing right now at quarterback.
No.
You know, I don't think the Steelers is a terrible landing spot either. Justin Fields playing well right now. Steelers have some mojo. Every player in the stinking league loves Mike Tomlin. You remember our offseason talking about Ayuk till we're blue in the face about potential landing spots for him. Pittsburgh was always there. It was rumored he was interested in that. I mean, look, that's another one. I think in all these conversations, when you have players on the move, high profile or not, you have to put the Steelers in the conversation. I would not be surprised if a Mike Tomlin, who we know has autonomy, has power, goes into that front office and says, pick up the phone. What's it going to cost? Look, here's one good thing about the drama going on between Davante Adams and the Raiders and Antonio Pierce, and no one's talking, and you're not on my buddy list, and all the nonsense. I mean, it's just finger pointing. It's juvenile, if you ask me. But the good thing is for teams who would be interested in a Davante Adams is that you do have that. You have sort of that toxic wasteland right now that's going on communication-wise between him and his current team. That drives the price down because they got to get this guy out of here. He's a headache. He's a pain in the ass. We're trying to build something here with Antonio Pierce. We got to move off of him. It's the same thing I told you with the Judon talk. At some point, it was going to be too much, and they were going to move off of him. Everyone told me I was nuts. Look what happened. And it's simple. It's because when you're trying to move in a different direction as a culture of a franchise, you can't have a guy saying, you know, the direction we're going in sucks. You got to get him out of there. So I think because of that, George, it drives the price down on a Davante Adams. Call me crazy. I think the Steelers might get involved here. I do. If the asking price, if you can get them at something reasonable, I think the Steelers is a great fit. Think about what they need.
His cap hit, according to Over the Cap, is $25 million. So it's like, how much do the Raiders eat up?
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of dead cap they're going to take on.
It's a lot of details, like you said.
Right? That's when the minutia comes in. Because if it's that, then Dallas, Washington, not Vegas, New England, Detroit, Cleveland, San Fran are in the mix. San Fran's not going to do it. They have Juwan Jennings, Pearsall. I don't think they do it. That was just a fantasy play. Cleveland, no, they need that cap space.
What's
to revamp
the Steelers deal?
Steelers for cap space. I think it's like 4.6 they're working with. Give me 1 second.
I mean, I just wonder. I just feel like that's
they
a team.
They have 12.8. And that's the thing. Like, is there a restructure? How much money do the Raiders retain?
They always inquire.
If he's getting paid by Oakland, then, I mean, that opens up every avenue. The Jets, the Steelers, and what are the details? No trade. The Steelers does not make sense for Davante Adams.
What?
What does he want? A Super Bowl ring at this point.
Look,
you're not winning it with Pittsburgh. You're not winning it with Pittsburgh.
I agree, but if you're Davante Adams, you don't have that mentality. They never have a losing season. They're always in the mix. They're always in the playoffs. If you're a Davante Adams with that mentality,
give me Baltimore over Pittsburgh if that's my mentality.
But I'm saying back to the Pittsburgh thing. Yeah. If you're Davante Adams, you're thinking they're a me away from getting over a hump and potentially winning a Super Bowl. He's not looking at Pittsburgh and thinking, I can't win there. That's not true. I think they need Davante Adams. I would rather go to the Ravens if I were him, but I don't think the Ravens are in a position to get that done.
This just breaking is like, it's very exciting to talk about. It's about what makes sense. Everyone's going to say Chiefs. With their limited cap space, that's what is tough to see.
And intra-division, that's
a hardest part.
Come on now.
I know the Chiefs lost their two guys.
Yeah.
But they go out and they get an Amari Cooper from the Browns. It's more affordable. It's less of a draft haul. The Patriots do need to pick up the phone, though. Like, if they're doing their job, if Elliott Wolf is doing his job.
You pick up the phone.
We talked about T. Higgins and what the possibilities are. What is the price for Davante Adams? He's older, 32 years old now, I believe. Yes. He'll be 33 next season. He's disgruntled. He's upset. The Raiders are in a rebuild.
Yep.
What do you give up for Davante Adams?
Yep.
But the timeline, again, Davante Adams won't be here when Drake Maye is hitting a stride and they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But you give the offense help where they need because they need a man-beater receiver very badly.
No doubt.
All right. Make sure to check out Foxborough Rush. You obviously guys will hear more than that. We got to go through these quick now. Let's go through our power rankings because I said we're doing it.
How do you want to do? You want to go
10-1?
All right.
We'll go 10. 10 is my 49ers.
10's Niners.
They lost to the Vikings, and I said Vikings and Rams. They only beat the Jets and Patriots, but they're super banged up. You still see the structures there. Niners are at 10.
I'm going Bucks here. I have the Niners a little higher on my list, but not much. I'm going Bucks here. I know Baker Mayfield was an idiot for calling out Tom and saying, it's a lot more fun with me around here.
It wasn't that bad, actually. I listened to the pod. It wasn't that bad.
He said it was taken out of context.
It was.
But still, I mean, let's not act like Baker Mayfield doesn't have a history of putting his foot in his mouth. But even though they got smoked, I still feel like this is a team that they do play well for Baker. And they're always well coached. They're always prepared. I like the Bucks. I have them at 10. I think they'll be a wild card team. 9
is Commanders. They beat the Giants, the Bengals, and the Cardinals. None of them great wins. I mean, the Giants was a good one. The Giants didn't have a kicker. Run defense is awful, but everything's been a shootout or the opponent playing from behind. Jaden Daniels covers a lot of deficiencies with this roster.
Yep.
Commanders at 9.
Yeah, I like the Commanders. I have them higher on my list, too. I'm going Steelers. I just wax poetic about them. I just believe in the end the Justin Fields thing. There's a lot of people in Chicago. I was talking to a Bears fan today right here at Nesson that suggested, you know what? I thought that the Bears could have hung on to Justin Fields and added around him, and they would be in a better position than they are now. Kudos to the Steelers organization for figuring it out with Justin Fields and figuring they had something there and not dealing with Russell Wilson's nonsense and letting this kid do what he's doing. I like the Steelers. I do believe it's sustainable in Pittsburgh.
8th spot, give me the Buccaneers. They're 3-1. The offensive line scares me, and the win over the Eagles was good because they shut down that offense.
Yep.
But an offensive line that gave up 5 sacks one game, 7 the next. That is what worries me. This is a bad Eagles team.
Yep.
They're 3-1. You mentioned Baker, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. We'll see what they get out of a deep backfield. Defense still there. Buccaneers at 8. Who do you have at 8?
8, I'm going Niners, but I see why you have them at 10. I just know injuries are destroying this team. But they're still, even with the injuries, super talented. I have them at 8.
7, Packers. Their only 2 wins are with Malik Willis at quarterback.
Facts.
But hey, that shootout with the Vikings, they scored 22 points in the fourth quarter, I believe.
Yep.
Jordan Love's back. Christian Watson's playing big. Halfley's getting aggressive with that defense. This offense can really get moving, and Jordan Love looked good coming back from a sprained MCL. They're 7 now. By next week, they'll be 4, and I won't be surprised.
Fair enough. I'm going Commanders. Everything you said. Jaden Daniels is the truth, man.
He's special.
Let's just get on with it. Now, all my peeps there tell me they are literally running a college offense. I don't give a damn because he is doing an excellent job at it, and we'll see if that's sustainable, but clearly the kid can ball. I like Commanders there.
Texans at 6.
Okay.
They're 3-1. They beat the Colts, the Bears, and the Jags. Like, none of those are impressive in my opinion. The Colts are one of the worst defenses.
Yep.
Young secondary, and when they play the Vikings, but the Vikings make everyone look silly, but still the Texans, we're 4 weeks in. So through 4 weeks, they're 6. This is a team that has a ceiling to be top 3. So I just want to say that, but they're 6 right now.
Yeah, I have the Texans in my top 5, but I agree as far as the ceiling. I have the Lions at 6, and I know we just watched them handle their business, but look, I think the Lions are the most talented team in the league. I do. I know I have them 6 on this list.
Shocking.
Their coach, Dan Campbell, I love him, but he's going to be the death of them. He's not buttoned up enough for me, but I love the talent on the Lions.
5 spot is the Bills. Same thing, Cardinals, cool. You beat the Dolphins with Tua getting knocked out of the game, and then the Jaguars. The Ravens ran all over them. I'm worried about this team in a way. I don't know if Josh Allen could be Superman all season, but I have him at 5.
Well, you sold a lot of stock then in the Bills to drop them that low. I still have them in my top 3. Here I'm going to go Texans at 5. CJ Stroud's a different. I mean, the kid is unbelievable, and DeMeco Ryans does not get enough credit. He is one of the best in the game. This dude is the truth as a head coach. Texans at 5.
Stroud and Nico Collins have been a special connection too. Looking spectacular. Ravens at 4.
Okay.
They should have beat the Chiefs. They ran all over the Cowboys, and then they made the Bills look silly, ran all over them as well. It's a balanced team with that really aggressive defense. I like them a lot, man.
Man, you don't like them that much to have them at 4. I got the Chiefs.
They're 2-2.
I know.
You have the Chiefs at 4?
I have the Chiefs at 4.
Well, I can see why. Go.
They keep winning in spite of. We understand that they're just dismantled with injuries. They're going to win again this week, as far as I'm concerned, on Monday night. And then they hit the bye week. And boy, do they need it. Maybe they can lick some of their wounds, come back after the bye a little bit healthier. But I still have the Chiefs there at 4.
Ravens being at 4 isn't that bad because of who I have 3-2-1. So, some fans may take it the wrong way. I still have a lot of respect.
All right.
I know I'm Indiana's favorite sportscaster right now for my Tyrese Halliburton take. Vikings at 3. You're 4-0.
Okay.
You made the Rams and the 49ers look like they didn't know what they're doing on offense. Just smothered them. I know you allowed a lot against the Packers, but with Jordan Addison back, he gets 2 touchdowns. And TJ Hawkinson may not be in the fold until week 9. Darnold with the best receiver in the game. That defense is old, which worries me. They are old, especially the secondary. But right now, they're 4-0. They're 3.
Well, schematically, Flores has that defense flying.
Unreal.
The ball. I'll go Bills here at 3. I know they lost. They got punked in the big crab cake. But I'm not selling all my stock for that team. I still think, look, Lamar does that to a lot of teams. I still like the Bills here in this spot. I got them in my top 3.
Number 2, Chiefs. Pass rush hasn't been there. Rashee Rice is done. Hollywood Brown, we have no idea. I don't think they have the cap to trade for Davante Adams. We saw Travis Kelce emerge, but number 15 is your quarterback, and they've been 1 for me, no doubt about it, through 3 weeks.
Yep.
Going into week 5, they're 2, and you'll find out why when I share my 1. Who's your 2?
Oh, I like that tease there. Look, I'm going Ravens here. I think this feels like a team, and maybe that Bills game set it off, but I could see them rattling off a ton of wins now. It just feels like they found their groove. Here come the Ravens.
Okay.
I have them at 2 based off what I've seen with my eyes.
Number 1's the Lions, man.
Yep.
Monday night, Jameson Williams actually showing up and being a football player. 1 catch his rookie season, 24 his sophomore year.
Yep.
That long touchdown he had, just 1 catch from him changes the whole dynamic of the game. But if something as reliable and consistent as Amon-Ra with both of their running backs and that offensive line, they need to figure out their secondary. But that team is special, and when they're firing on all cylinders, no one can keep up with them, especially with a good defense that can keep them in games. I am worried about Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
when they took that shot from the end zone, the way that Jared Goff was stretched out, another defensive lineman comes in, that is a broken leg,
Absolutely.
and you are done.
You're done.
So to that point, that worries me, but they're 1.
They're just not buttoned up. Not enough details there.
Yep.
I'm going Vikings. Look, we do this every week, so hell.
Have fun with it.
I mean, do I think the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl? Not no, but hell no.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, for these power rankings, for what we've seen with Thine Eyes, I mean, best receiver in the game, Darnold's playing like an MVP. And then defensively, I know you said they're long in the tooth, and they are. I give all the credit to Brian Flores. The way he handled the Tua thing, remember when Tua was taking shots at him? The way this defense is playing, someone's in Brian Flores' ear saying, you are the next up for another shot at head coach. Mm-hmm. So just keep everything tight, keep everything together, show you're a nice guy, smile a little bit. His defense is humming. The Vikings are number 1.
I like your power rankings. Next time we'll go in more in depth when Davante Adams isn't demanding a trade. All right, I said we get to the hotline, 617-790-0928. Love this phone call. It's about Drake Maye, and it's yelling at me. Let's play it right here.
This is a comment for your podcast. I've only seen it a little. I've got a note for Mayo. If you're not going to play Drake Maye, trade him to another team
50.
who will. I'm sure you could get a lot of drafts for him. Trade him if you're not going to play him. You will not hurt his confidence. You don't know the guy's personality. He is stronger than you think.
Yep.
And you are really, really stupid to just leave him out. He's not going to be perfect, but he's going to be good. Trade him to another team that will allow the guy to play.
No way.
You are holding him back. You are stunning his growth. I'm so tired of listening to this podcast. Everybody thinks they know this or thinks they know that. Talk personally to Drake Maye. Get his confidence. See how strong he is. You'll make a winning team, maybe, if you at least try the guy. But if you're not going to play him, trade him to somebody who will. Thank you.
Come on.
Appreciate you calling in. That's, again, 617-790-0928. I hear a little bit of, a Southern accent in there.
I hear that.
I'm guessing that's a North Carolina call. And I understand that. And I appreciate you calling me in and calling me stupid because, trust me, I hear it the 23 hours, other hours of the day. My thing with Drake Maye, I'm not saying don't play him. I want this offensive line to protect him. I think he will be great. And just because you're not playing him through 4, 5, maybe 6 or 8 games doesn't mean you're stunting his growth. You're letting him marinate. You're letting him cook. You're letting him learn. And remember, his whole mechanics from the toes up were very raw coming out of UNC, and that's been corrected. This offensive system will not help him. This offensive line will kill him. And these receivers will not get open for him. And those 3 things can kill a quarterback's confidence. We saw what happened to Bryce Young with the Carolina Panthers. Because it sounds like this person calls him Carolina. I sense a lot of UNC pride.
I did feel that.
I think Drake Maye is great. I love the pick. I want him over Jaden Daniels. I will still say that right now. This is my thing. In 123 dropbacks for Jacoby Brissett, he's been pressured 58 times. That's 42% of his dropbacks. And also, he's had time in the pocket under 2.5 seconds, 42% of the time. He has been sacked 15 times. He's actually been under pressure 47% of his dropbacks. The offensive line is responsible for 91% of the pressures per PFF, with the left tackle, who's been 4 different starters, and the right guard bearing most of that responsibility. That will ruin Drake Maye, not the Patriots sitting him. Appreciate you calling in. I love the phone call. I love the passion. Call in again when Drake Maye starts, and we will talk, or email us to the chat@nesson.com. I am not going to play him right now because that's the best thing for Drake Maye.
Yeah. Also, in the future, just direct your vitriol to George, because quite frankly, you saying, this podcast, I know what it's talking about. Au contraire.
He wants to play him yesterday.
I wanted Drake Maye from day one. Okay. So let's get that straight. Secondly, they are not trading Drake Maye. Let's be clear. Let's just go ahead and put that to bed now. Too. I know you said trade him somewhere, don't play him. No. He's going to play here. It's not if, it's when. And they will not be trading Drake Maye. But in the future, just direct these things at George by name. Put his name on it. If you want his social security number, it's 220. Well, we're out of time. Never mind. I'll give that on the next. Boston has entered the chat.
The trade scenario is so dumb. That's why I didn't even address that. But thank you. You are really, really stupid to just leave him out. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening. Continue to make us part of your day. And when he starts, stay there for the criticism or the praise of what Drake Maye does. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. This is Boston has entered the chat from the PNC Bank studio. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.